and welcome back to the Fixing Football podcast. We have a full house with Liam, Scott, and clear of all allegations, Luke is back in the house. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Who wants to go first?
I will go first. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, Luke.
I'll go second. Hello, everyone. Hello, Liam.
Hello, everybody.
Right. We've had quite a few games since we all last got together, so we can start. Liam, I think we'll start at Man United, your favourite topic. We've got an expert in tonight, so we can bounce a few things off him.
Who's that?
Who's that? It's on my list here. It's this Luke guy, this runner. What did you think of the match, the big one, Man United Liverpool?
What did I think of it?
Yes.
I thought it went exactly the way most people thought it would go. Just Liverpool didn't put the ball in the back of the net. I must admit, Ten Hag's brilliant at pretending that everything was part of the plan. And for him, after the game, to say that performance was a sign of Man United improving, I thought that was a stretch. I thought United were very lucky to get a draw. But I think they needed to be. It's a brilliant Liverpool team, and United have their own struggles, but they were very poor. Liverpool rightfully were fuming with themselves after the game. I think Klopp made no apologies about how he felt about
He was fuming.
Yeah, and I don't blame him because it was there to be won, that game for them. They were in complete control of it. It's a great finish from Bruno Fernandes on capitalising on Kwanzaa's mistake, and a brilliant finish from Manu as well on that turn goal that seems to only go in at Old Trafford. That sort of floated, curled into that side. It seems that at that end as well, the Stretford end. So
you've seen that live, haven't you, Liam?
I have seen that live. So yeah, I think it went the way most thought it would do. Luke, as our Manchester United expert, what were your views on that one?
I'm confused because I thought it was the Arsenal versus Liverpool. How you was banging on about it, saying this is a big result for Arsenal. Come on. It was, to be honest, embarrassing. All these Arsenal fans now turn into to be United fans.
How is it embarrassing? We just want Liverpool to fail, so
can I jump in?
It makes my chance of success a lot better. Yeah, go on, Liam.
I'm going to jump in because, Luke, I know how you feel, right? Because I Bolton in the Premier League for a long time, not in title races. And often you would have these games, and there were a few for Chelsea, Scott, you might remember, at our place where Chelsea are chasing a title, or there was, I remember Arsenal cocking one up at our place early doors, where you're the only run in that game, where that whole game is about the other team's title running.
Yeah.
But that's what Man United are now, Luke. They're a Premier League only run. So it's all well and good getting angry at Arsenal for wanting you to win and that being uncomfortable with you because you used to be the team in the title. But it's been years since you won a title. Villa are miles ahead of you. You are in that sort of bracket of teams now, like maybe Palace, Bournemouth, where you're going to be part of other teams' story. And I think the emphasis is on United to change that.
That's a good point, Liam, but Arsenal have not won a league in years and years. So what on earth are you on about?
Listen, Luke, we're top of the league and we wanted Liverpool to win. It didn't matter who we were playing. I want Liverpool to lose every week from now until the end of the season. So whoever they're playing, they're going to get my full support. Same with City. Whoever they're against, they're getting my full support. You just happen to be on the receiving end of it. So if you felt a little bit more pressure this weekend just to try and make your friend happy, I'm sorry. I'm actually sorry if it's affected you.
There was no pressure.
Well, you say that. I'm going to beg to differ here. I think there was pressure. I think there was a lot of pressure on Man United after quite a bad week, really. And I'll let you and Scott go at it for a bit if you want, because there was a big game. There was a big game previous to this one. Chelsea v United. I'll probably go down as a Premier League classic. I thought it was actually a good game to watch as a neutral. Scott, before you get on the Chelsea hype, Luke, you've had 2 draws and a loss in the last 3 games since the international break. So where do you sit on Man United at the moment?
The same place I've sat from most of the season. I think the coach is not doing his job, so he needs to go. to be honest, all I want is a good performance at this point. I want a game where we like come at the end of it thinking, God, this is the new way. This is United style of play, and just a good, enjoyable game. Not this shit show we have where the defense is so detached from the attacking force, and then the midfield. There's just such a big gap in the midfield. And that's why I don't feel I've any kind of empathy for Liverpool yesterday, because other teams have just exploited that, and you've seen in our past results. So it was Liverpool's chance to score as many goals as they can possibly, but they just didn't. I think the occasion may have just been a factor of why it happened a draw yesterday. But the Chelsea game, I'm still annoyed. Like I said, I don't really want to speak to Scott about it.
It's all right, Scott. You can just speak to the fans of the podcast about it. Tell us about your residing memories from that amazing game.
I'll speak to the people. I'll talk to the people about it. So, again, I'm not really going to go to Chelsea positivity on this, because I think what that game was an incredible result, and that'll go down in the highlight packages and in all the clips and Premier League classic games and all the other shit they put on Sky Sports. But what it actually was yet another game where an inept manager has been saved by one particular player. Cole Palmer is producing one of the biggest carry jobs I've ever seen any one player do. Like, I can't actually recall a game where, maybe the only one that comes to mind is the Newcastle game most recently, where Pochettino's subs and changes in tactics actually influenced the outcome of the game. I can't recall a positive result that we've had. I can say, oh, well done, Poch. That was on you, that, mate. It was all moments of individual brilliance. It's just so, and I think that's all that was. I think all that was at Man United, as amazing and as great to watch as it was an extremely fluky win against a team who's as bad as we are. I don't think it's anything really to get that excited about, to be quite honest, which is probably a bit of a pessimistic view, but I think that's the reality of it. So and again, it was proven again in the most recent game where we played quite comfortably the worst team in the league, and what most people would probably agree are one of the worst Premier League teams we've ever seen, if not the worst. And we blew 2 leads against them. So it just goes to show where we are. We're just not very good.
Scott, my observation for Chelsea is that defense was horrendous, like really
Chelsea's
bad.
defense.
Yeah, really bad.
Yeah. In
and
the United game or the Sheffield game, do you mean?
United game.
Right.
I think that's the only reason we scored 3, because your defense was just. If Anthony's having a good game, you know you're not playing good.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think we've got big problems in defence. We've got we're changing the centre back pairing quite a bit. Thiago Silva had a bit. He had a dip in form, so we brought other people in, and the people that we have, either aren't at the level or aren't being coached to the level. I'm not sure which it is yet. I think time will tell on that one. But yeah, I agree. I think defensively we've got massive issues. We are scoring more goals under Pochettino than we did under Graham Potter, which is a positive, but we are leaking a lot of goals. I think we've conceded an average of at least 2 goals in every away fixture this year. It's really, really poor. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think poor defending has really almost made us come unstuck against the Man United team that isn't really that good. So it's not great.
I actually think there's a chance that Chelsea are going to get a decent European spot, really. The teams above them all don't seem to. I think everyone's doing their best to try and get 9th at the moment. I think that's the lowest spot without Europe. Like United, I think it's West Ham and Newcastle as well above Chelsea at the moment, and there's only about 5 points separating them. It's like I don't know who's gonna. Honestly, I've actually watched 2 full Man United games recently, and if you told me they were 9th, I'd believe you, because I think Just
Yeah.
such a mess. And Newcastle have had, I don't know, 1,000 injuries this season if you listen to any of their fans, but they've had a lot and are doing everything they can to stumble the way through games. West Ham, I would hate for anyone who was a serial better on West Ham because they are just the most inconsistent team, consistently inconsistent. So there's still a world where Chelsea end up 6th or something this season.
Yeah, it's possible. And looking at the table, if I know this isn't mathematically possible, but in a hypothetical situation, if every team won all their games between now and the end of the season, I think we come 7th. I think that's how it would work out. So we're not that far off. But it just, again, when you beat Man United, you're within touching distance, and then you've got a chance. You're playing the worst team in the league who've conceded 80 goals all season, and you decide to play 3 centre backs. And you don't go for the fucking throat, and we end up dropping 2 points where we would have been. We'd still have stayed 9th, but we'd then be 3 points off 6th place with 2 games in hand. So it's every time we get a little window to push up the table, we seem to just fluff our lines. So yeah, I agree. I think it'd be an interesting end to the season because thankfully our games in hand are against teams who are better than us, and we've proven this season that when we come up against better teams, we somehow get better results. I don't know how it's just the fucking paradox that is Chelsea at the moment. So yeah, it'll be a really exciting end to the season, particularly for those Europa League, Conference League places. I agree.
Luke, while we get finished up on these 2 trash clubs, what do you see happening between now and the end of the season for Man United? You got potentially a very likely chance at a cup final, and you're still in with a shout of a Champions League spot. Do you see that happening, or do you want it? Do you even want it to happen at this stage? Would you rather, you drop a little bit further down and maybe have a season without Europe? So I think it can do you the world of good sometimes.
Obviously, I want to do. I obviously want to win the FA Cup, but I think to your point, European places, yeah, possibly. I think it'd be better for United to not be even in the Europa Conference League. So
you have to not win the FA Cup though as well. Then.
Oh yeah. Well, we're screwed. That depends who we get in the final, I suppose, and if it's how it's been how the draw's been placed. It looks like we'll probably gone, Liam.
But why would you not want to be in the Europa League? Because you're not doing anything when you're in the Champions League. So surely that then is your level and the competition you should be trying to win. Because
no, it's just a distraction. Then it's not.
No.
Disagree. If you could win, you go and win the Europa League.
Yeah, it does. I'm sorry, but why is the Europa League a distraction, Man United? Like, what are you doing instead of winning the Europa League?
No,
exactly.
What I was asking is, I'm not saying if you're in it, go and win it, but it can do you the world of good to be out of Europe for a bit.
I don't believe this. I think this is all nonsense. I don't think this. Very rarely has it happened where that's legitimately helped a team go on and do something. Teams who have won the last. Not has it? Why? What have Arsenal won? It's not helped them win
top of league.
Yeah, but you're in the Champions League quarterfinals as well.
You won the league in April. Well done.
No, but this whole rebuild started. You're being really short-sighted here because the whole rebuild started when we fell out of Europe and we spent 2 seasons at 8th.
Right.
It didn't know, is it? Because you're out for 1 year.
So
you're always in the Europa League. You never came outside Europa League places, did you?
Yeah, we finished 8th.
I've only had 1 year, but
1 year in 8th.
I will probe this though. So it's nothing to do with Arteta. It's because you weren't in Europe. Is that what you're saying? No,
I'm saying it helped when you have to have a big clear out. I'm saying it can help because when you're out of Europe, then it helps you get rid of certain players who are sort of taking up wages and stuff like that.
Okay, Scott, has it helped Chelsea this year?
Well, look at the table. You tell me if it's helped.
And has it helped?
It doesn't help.
Has it helped United since Christmas?
Yeah, but Liam, fucking hell.
But what the 2 most recent examples?
Why aren't Newcastle higher up? And since they crashed out of the Champions League, their form hasn't particularly improved.
Because we've got a million
year out of Europe can help it as part of the big reset that Man United need.
Well,
I
it
don't-
can help in the way that like anything can help. Like, yeah, I suppose you're
Anything.
I
right.
just don't. I don't buy this. It can't. I don't see how it can be anything but it's less income for the club. You can't attract as good a players as you perhaps may have done before. You can say, oh yeah, you can get rid of players whether you're in Europe or not. Like that whole argument of get rid of dead. Well, you can do that regardless. It doesn't really matter. So I think it's just. I think it's this sort of delusion of grandeur that you want to be in the Champions League or nothing. Like Europa League's nothing. Like look at the kind of teams you play in the Europa League. It's a high level competition, and winning it is your instant ticket back. One, it builds a winning culture in your squad, and two, it's an instant ticket back. It's the easier route to the fucking Champions League in the first place. It's less games.
I mean, you were celebrating a draw against Liverpool this weekend, Luke, and they're in the Europa League, so can't all be bad teams in it.
It's dog turd.
That is
Dog turd.
nonsense. So you'd rather just do nothing. You'd like rather literally do nothing than be in or win the Europa League.
It's classic Man United elitism. This. Oh, we're above the Europa League. You're not anymore. You're not.
We've been in it. We've won it, Liam.
Yeah.
But
Like
trust me,
Seville have won it. You like Sevilla? That's like the club you are now.
United are still on the way down, and the
Yeah.
quicker they get out of the Europe, the quicker they can fall. They can hit rock bottom, and start building back up. That's the way I would see it. Don't get me wrong. I'm enjoying it. I'm not sticking up for them. I'm just saying this is long may it continue for all I care. But that it is United coming out of Europe altogether would be rock bottom, and that's where they, eventually get to start again. It probably won't happen.
Just before we finish, I just want to double check, just so I know everyone's opinion on this. So, Luke, you're agreeing that United need to do what Arsenal did. That's your opinion. You want to follow the model.
He was not in a long. You can say it, Luke. We won't hold it against you.
I said it would be good for United to be out of Europe. I'm not saying follow Arsenal's ways. No, I'm not saying that.
Like that model. Just like
No.
if you was going to use that model, for example.
So that was by design, was it? Let's purposefully drop out of the top places. Wasn't all part of the plan, was it?
No, it wasn't by design. It was
so we
definitely
can be
not.
like Arsenal.
Exactly. So it's all bollocks then.
I'm not saying it's not a plan. You don't plan to do it. No one wants to do it. It's just
Yeah.
hit bottom is where you start again. I'm not saying
You
United
know-
should start throwing games to get out of the Europa League. It don't work like that.
It's just like we won the secret quiz kind of thing, though, isn't it? Like, oh well, if we get in Europe, we've won. If we didn't get in Europe, we've also won. That's basically what it is, isn't it? United can't fail again because they're not trying to do anything.
Listen, this
Very
conversation,
cynical
pointless.
view.
United's going to be in Europe next year, so we're not going to not be in Europe. Whatever
hope you are.
competition it is, no, we won't be. We won't finish
Conference
below
League.
fucking. Yeah, probably Conference League. That's where we'll be.
Right, Liam, we've had a positive Bolton result. Let's switch it up for a minute.
Yeah, we've had two.
We've had two.
Beat Reading 5-2 at home, and then we've won away at Bristol Rovers 2-0. So putting the pressure on. Big game.
How many games left? How many games left now?
4 games left. We've got 3 of
Right.
them in a week at home. So Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, all 3 home games, starting with Portsmouth at home.
The biggest game of the season.
Well, they're all big. I feel like they're all equally as big.
It is big, but they're almost too far away now, Portsmouth, aren't they?
Well, Portsmouth can win the league in this game. If Portsmouth win and Derby lose, Portsmouth win the league at our place on Saturday.
Yeah,
but I don't really care about
not
that. We'll shit them. It'll be 2 or 3-0 Bolton. The Whites are going up.
Get them t-shirts printed, Luke. We'll shit them.
So I don't know. I don't really think too much of this idea of if they were already up, they wouldn't care as much. I think you can start overthinking that. That's like accumulator talk when you don't really know anything about any of the teams. But like, it's just we're good at home. That's one thing we have been this season, consistently good at home. So I think we can beat anyone at home. Don't get me wrong. They are the best team in the league that we're playing against. But we've got to believe, haven't we? We've got to believe that we can beat them. Otherwise, what's the point? And the thing is as well, we could win all 4 of these games that we've got left and still finish 3rd. But that's important with as we touched on last time, with the playoff picture. Finishing 3rd is vital. So there's a lot to play for. And a lot of Bolton eyes will be on the game on Wednesday night Derby away at Wycombe. So obviously, if Derby were to drop points there, it opens it wide open for Bolton again to bulldoze their way into automatic pitch again. So there's a lot to play for. I'm obviously shitting it now. I'm proper nervous about every game now. But what can you do?
And I wanted to ask you about Aaron Collins. He was your January signing. I think he's had like more goal involvements than anyone in like the 92 leagues or something like that. He's had a good season. What have you made of him coming in? He got a hat trick, didn't he, last week?
He got a hat trick in the Wycombe game. Really good hat trick as well. 3 good goals. And also got the goal. It was 1-0, sorry, against Bristol Rovers. Oh no, 2-0. Last minute penalty. I completely forgot about that, yeah. And he got the opening goal in the Bristol Rovers game as well. Against his old club, who he signed him from. For $750,000, which is not a small amount of money for Bolton to be laying out. That's some of the Luke was very keen to know where the money's gone with
you're welcome.
Yeah, so it's very much that money, the bond money, were being invested in a player. And yeah, he looks really good. He's taken a while to get used to the system, and he's predominantly played out wide in his career. But Bolton want to use him more centrally, so they're trying to adopt him into our system, and it's taken a bit of time, but yeah, it looks good. Looks good. So hopefully we've got Baxter back in net. That should make a difference. He played really well against Bristol Rovers, and there's rumours of a Dion Charles return for the Portsmouth game, maybe returning to the bench. So,
that'd be good timing.
Yeah, let's see.
Right. Well, from one title race to the other, Scott, I want to ask your opinion on the Premier League title race. Obviously, very tight now.
Extremely.
Where do you see it going?
I still think Liverpool are going to end up edging it. I think there is still fuck up on Arsenal's horizon. I can't predict where it's going to come. It might even come at Chelsea because you got points against us earlier in the season, and we've come to the table in those games.
We had 2 at the Emirates.
I'm not saying that you're losing, but I think you'll drop some points. I would not be shocked if that was a draw. We'll probably lose every other game between now and the end of the season, but I could see us doing something in that game to make life hard for you. Yeah, I still think Liverpool are going to do it. I think that the penalty that Liverpool got shows that the script is written. Klopp's farewell tour is going to end in a Premier League trophy. And I don't think there's really anything that anyone can do about it.
Yeah, Luke, I wanted to ask you about that penalty as well before we.
It was outrageous.
Get your opinion.
I can't believe it was given.
What did you think? What did you think of that? Because when at first glance, I mean, until I've seen it back, like on Twitter and stuff today, it just looked like a Stonewall penalty. I didn't see it in the slow mo guys that has been going around and stuff. But it looked like a Stonewall penalty. But some of the replays today are a bit suspect.
It's a classic Liam O'Meara dangling the leg, waiting for the defender to take it and then fall over. That's what it was. But I agree it was a penalty to me. You can't go to the ground in the box and expect nothing else but a penalty. And
his trailing leg does catch him. So I mean, it's harsh to. Unless
I don't think it was.
It's sort of one of them. If you unless you're looking for a dive, you don't see a dive. You just see it in the moment. I can understand why it looks like a penalty all day long.
But he's definitely played for that penalty.
Yeah. Like I say, unless
you
think that he's probably going to go down, like if the referee's in the mindset that a dive is coming, then he might give a dive straight away and think, and then look it back and so it's a weird one really. Just the pressure of it as well. Yeah, the replays are pretty suspect though. Harvey Elliott's a schemer. Yes, Liam.
What do we mean, Liam O'Meara style penalty decision? I don't...
Describe that for anyone who's not played a game with Liam.
Me or Liam?
You, Luke.
Well, Liam was the classic run into the box, and any slight contact, the glasses would come off, and he'd be flopping around on the floor, screaming penalty.
Hold on.
That was
no. But you make it sound like this is an amateur operation. This is one of the most elite level dives you've ever seen. This is like Robert Perez, Ginola should all have been taking lessons from Liam O'Meara at this stage. I've never seen acting like it. Yeah, I
In fa-
couldn't. I was waiting for it to happen, praying on it happening in matches. There's no way anyone would ever turn that away.
In fact, it didn't have to be contact. It just the player needed to be near him and he'd be down.
What Liam was good at as well was being on the referee's blind side.
Yeah.
Very clever about it. Sneaky little scheming centre midfielder at some time in his career, Liam. Liam, this is praise, by the way.
I disagree completely. I was often siphoned down. I took kickings in games. I feel like I didn't have any protection a lot of the time. I just had quick feet in the box. I was brought down. I got there first, and a lot of defenders would lunge in, and a lot of them were bad tackles. I'm surprised at this, to be honest.
The ball wouldn't even be near you when you go down. You'd hit it in front of you and then go down. It'd be like 10 yards ahead of you.
Well, if it's a foul, it's a foul. It don't matter where the ball is.
What? Just take the praise, Liam, and move on.
Look, the trick to diving for anyone.
If in case Harvey Elliott's listening and he wants to have another go at it next time.
I think that was a Stonewall penalty, by the way. I also think Harvey Elliott was brilliant when he came on. I feel like he really got Liverpool moving again because they were looking a bit weird and deflated and beaten.
They looked a proper mess, Liverpool, for a bit. I just thought United brought that out of them.
Yeah, they got
the fact that United
out.
was such a mess that Liverpool's just became that.
Yeah. You've just gotta anticipate the contacts. And if you make enough noise as well, that helps.
Yeah. Good tips.
Yeah.
Luke, title race talk. Where are you sitting at the moment?
I don't care.
It's not great, just for a podcast to just say don't care and I move on.
What? There's no benefit in me saying who I want, who I think gonna win. So I'm gonna just keep with Liverpool, who predicted in the beginning of the season.
Great. Okay, great chat. Thanks as always. Liam, has anything changed for you since we last spoke? Arsenal played City, defensive masterclass, and then one of our trickier matches that we've got left in the running, Brighton away. Really professional win, I thought. Where are you sitting at the moment?
Good question. And you can see about 8 different scenarios in your head when you're playing it out. But I keep falling back to, I don't think Arsenal drop any points between now and the end of the season. And they're in possession at the moment in terms of the top spot. So I think Arsenal will win the league now.
It's mad that one of these teams has to practically win the next 8 games. And in this whole time as well, that's probably going to be like around 18 wins out of the last 20 games for one of these 3 teams, which I just think is absolutely mental.
It's been the same for the last few years. This is the standard. This is the standard you have to be if you want to beat Man City. And Man City, their running is quite comfortable. As far as runnings go.
I'd say it's the best, the most favourable of the 3. Easy.
Yeah.
But I still don't think Arsenal drop points. I don't see it. I think they win every game. I think it's. I'm not saying this in any kind of dig way. I do think it's Arsenal's to lose. They're in possession. I feel like they've got momentum. I feel like they've got belief now. I feel like Declan Rice has added a lot to them.
Yeah, I do.
He's added a steal to them that didn't have with Thomas Partey that playing there every week. I feel like Rice is a massive upgrade, which is weird considering he's come from West Ham. But he seems to be the person who's driving the standards in the team almost now. In a way, Zinchenko thought he would do just by getting people around him and clapping at them. So, yeah, I think Arsenal.
Did you want to add a point there? How's that?
I don't agree that Arsenal aren't going to drop him. I think you have some horrible games to come. You still got to go to Spurs. You still got to go to Old Trafford, which you should batter United.
I think that's it though for our away games. We might have one more as well out of them, but the rest mostly at home.
You've got you've got to go to Old Trafford. You got to go to Spurs, and you got to go to Wolves. But then you got to play Villa at home, Chelsea at home. Yeah, Bournemouth, you'll smash them, and Everton at home. Which, depending where they are and their survival situation, that could be a bit of a testy game as well. So I don't think your running's easy, and I don't think you're going to win every single one of those games, but you are in pole position. But I just think Liverpool, I think that the footballing gods will conspire to bring that title to Liverpool. City will probably win the rest of their games, but it's not in their hands anymore. So they could do that and not win the league. So yeah,
which is mental.
I'm going to stay with. I've been City all season, but I think looking at where it is now, I do think Liverpool are going to find a way, which is horrible to say, but I'd rather them than Arsenal, definitely.
Point out that I had a vision that Arsenal won it on goal difference, and I don't. I need to keep saying it, so I don't know if I want it to be true, or I'd rather us win it on points. I just want
Why?
I don't care how we win
Does it
it.
matter?
Nah, I don't know.
Okay.
Something about goal difference that. I mean, it means we've been better. I don't know why it feels shitter than a full point. One whole point.
I can almost guarantee you will not care.
Nah, you're probably right. Definitely on the day.
You won't give two shits if that comes down to it.
Right, we're going to have a quick break, and then I want to talk about FFP. Right, and we're back. Right, Liam, today, as we're recording, Everton have been docked another 2 points, 8th of April, 2024. Everton, another 2 points after the whole FFP PRS scenario. Now, they are going to appeal, so we're going to be left in a situation where all this carries on probably until after the end of the season. What were your immediate sort of thoughts when you heard the news?
It's kind of where I thought it would land in terms of points. Like, feels like they're taking into account the fact that some of the time is they're being punished on again. And for me, based on the limited information granted that I have, I'm not obviously sat here with all Everton's books in front of me, but kind of landed where I expected. And I won't say I'm surprised they appealed, because you may as well, haven't you? Like,
yeah,
you may as well appeal, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is upheld. And I'm not saying it seems fair, because obviously, again, I'm not a football finance expert, but if Everton accepted the last one at its amended total, I struggle to see why they have an issue with this.
Yeah.
Really, if the beat, and like, this could have been worse for them, was my initial reaction.
Yeah, I agree. So there's been some proposed new rule changes about FFP or PRS. Now, whether this is because, potentially City and maybe even Chelsea have a hefty points, what would be the word? Deduction coming their way at some point because of these rule breaks. But the proposals are that they want to move that instead of a points deduction, because it's a financial breach, that it's a financial penalty. Luke, what do you make of that as a rule? Do you think that's fair, that it should go that way, or do you think that's not enough of a deterrent?
It just seems a bit of a mess, and it seems to be making up as they go along. I think it's. I've read now that they're trying to bring in this rule where it's going to be a luxury tax if they break. So it's not a points deduction. They're going to just get a big fine, which the big clubs are just going to be like, fine, we'll take the fine, we'll take the hit, which is
exactly
no incentive at all to. I think they should either double down or just forget it. What's the point?
Who should double down?
The Premier League or
yeah.
It's a bit of a mess, to be honest. It's especially with all this kind of we're going to appeal, and then we'll probably only get 1 point deduction for the Everton piece. But I've just been reading then in regards to Everton that potentially the stadium could be a factor now, and they could get an extra point deducted because of that. Now, from my understanding, I thought anything to the stadium finances of a new rebuild won't be a factor, but from what I've just read, then it comes into play for Everton's point of view.
It depends how it's financed, and if it's financed through the club, like the way Arsenal's was, for example, and Tottenham's, then it does come into consideration. But in other cases where there might be a sponsor already at hand and stuff like that, then they can offset it somewhere like that as well.
Yeah, but do you not feel it is a bit of like we're going through 3 different processes in a single season?
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Yeah, doesn't
I
make
think-
any sense.
So let me give you my 2 pence. I hate this because, like Newcastle have now, and City, and we've seen it, before with Chelsea and whoever else has had a bit of money, that any financial implications can get dealt with easy. Unless you make going 10 million over your budget £1 billion fine, that there's no deterrent that's going to annoy someone enough to put them off doing that in that case. So Newcastle can go and spend 3 billion in this summer and buy whoever they want, and rightly so if they've got the money. But then have to deal with fines that they don't have to care about, or they take them fines on as debt and they don't pay them on, and then it doesn't encourage financial fair play. And the reason this was brought in is to save football clubs. If a club takes on billions pounds worth of debt just to try and improve, rather than a points deduction, which I'm sure Everton would have been happy to take on a shitload of debt in this scenario, rather than any points that it might take. It might cost them the Premier League status. I just think it's absolutely mental that they will go down that route, and it suits it. Well, at the moment, I don't like pointing fingers at Chelsea because I actually think they've been quite upfront about some of their fines since Bowley's come in. They've been the ones sort of bringing these up to the Premier League and saying, "Oh, this is out of whack. We're going to sort it." They've paid some fines, but they are still under investigation for stuff. City, I mean, everyone knows they're under investigation and charged and shit like that. This would only benefit them at the moment, so I hate it. I think that there needs to be maybe a slackening of the rules somehow. I don't disagree that Newcastle should probably be able to spend what they want within some sort of limit. Maybe spend 3 times what they made or something like that. Just because they're the richest club, they're not in danger of going out of business. So these FFP rules are only there to ring fence them a little bit rather than protect them.
Well, this is it. So a lot of this comes down to what you're trying to achieve with these financial rules. Are you trying to create a level playing field, or are you trying to protect clubs from essentially spending beyond their means, and essentially owners that are not paying certain bills to pay others, and to etc. etc. And you can't do both, really. Like, you're doing one or the other. And I think one of the biggest problems with financial fair play is that it didn't address level playing field, really. It just stopped new entrants into that problem. So a lot of people talk about Newcastle and City and PSG, these types of clubs. But the issue is that there's a lot of clubs already at the top that it protects, and it doesn't address the imbalance of that. So your Man Utd, your Liverpools, to an extent Arsenal, these clubs that are already massive revenue, sort of wealth creating clubs, they're not being checked with financial fair play, really. So it's not doing anything really to create a level playing field, except stopping clubs from entering into that. So then I think you're almost chasing a lost cause there. Like, because of those existing powerhouse clubs, any kind of restriction just cements their place at the top of the table.
Yeah.
Fundamentally unfair. So, and in no other walk of business do you have this, where you stop new entrants coming to a market. It's fundamentally wrong. It's not free market. It's,
it's actually the opposite is illegal. Yeah, it's like it
really wouldn't stand up in European courts, to be honest. And I'm wondering why it's never really been tested there. But that's a different debate for a different day. But so then you do the other one. You're trying to protect clubs. Now, obviously, we had an idea what we're talking about today. Now, I've not looked at the Premier League's ideas because I don't think they've really been published yet. I think a lot of ideas are being leaked out just to see what we actually get. But UEFA's version of it has been sort of what they call now financial sustainability regulations. And they've structured it differently. And one of the reasons that they've changed the name is that they felt that financial fair play was misrepresentative of what they're actually trying to do, UEFA. They didn't want that idea that they were trying to level the playing field, because that's impossible, right? You can't do that. So what has changed, and some things that I do like, so there's quarterly audits on payments in clubs now. So for the UEFA clubs...
Is that live? Is this something that's happening now?
No, this will be from next season, I understand.
Oh, okay.
So, and what will happen is, it's essentially to double check that each club has no overdue payments. As simple as that. So once every quarter, so for the non-business people, essentially quarter is a business term for 3 months in a year. So every 3 months, you will have a check to make sure that there are no overdue payments within that club. And then sanctions can be imposed. On the UEFA measure, it doesn't just stop at fines. It starts at fines, but it doesn't stop there. And if you are a repeat offender, the sanctions become progressively worse and then will turn into sporting sanctions such as points deductions. But the difference with this, as opposed to what the Premier League currently do under PSR, is that these will be clearly defined and set out from the start. So, whereas the Premier League, and we talked about this in the last one, voted that they didn't want this idea of guidelines because they wanted to be able to bring the nuances and have it debated by committees and understand each individual case, which I can see the benefit of. I think the problem is that it leaves fans in the dark a lot of time, and you end up getting like fan marches at Side Goodison when really they don't really know what Everton did wrong, and they're just assuming that, you know, that the Premier League hates Everton, even though Everton voted in favour of all these rule changes and, you know, agreed them in advance, despite knowing that they had all these financial problems. So, for the fans, it's better because they can see it's clearly defined. And what that should do as well is stop a situation like, you know, not naming certain clubs where we're waiting on decisions on there. It took a long time for UEFA to bring City to the table. And again, without knowing the ins and outs of the court case, that may have been to their detriment in the end by what the ruling at the Court of Arbitration of Sport. So the Premier League is still ongoing. It's not going to be till mid next season, I don't believe, until we're going to hear on that. If you've got these clear defined rules, it should be a lot quicker. And these constant checks should make it quicker.
That's what I think it needs to be. Just needs to... Part of me doesn't even care what the rule is anymore. It just needs to be something that is clear and that everyone has to stick to. And then the punishments are clear. If you breach it, it needs to be fair. It needs to not restrict, like we were saying. Not restrict to the detriment of your long-term future. And... yeah, just be clear and not fuck around with it. In that, like every couple months, whenever there's a new sort of charge, they have to sort of come up with a new version of this rule. Unfortunately,
we're in a situation where nation states already own football clubs. That's a fact. And now we're in a position where we can't. Who do we decide who's good and who's bad and all that stuff? Unfortunately, that's the land that we're in now. The financial regulations should now be there to stop situations like Bolton, like Reading at the moment, where owners aren't paying bills, where wages aren't being paid. Yeah. These types of situations, and sometimes they're not a million miles away from Premier League clubs. You know, we've touched on Everton quite a few times. If Everton did go down, if that takeover doesn't go over, and by the way, 777 Group have had some issues abroad, but we'll not. That's a podcast for another day.
That's a whole one in itself, yeah.
But it should be designed to protect and foresee problems before they become too big. By the time Bolton were bought by Ken Anderson, who many believe was the big problem at Bolton, Eddie Davis had run up £180 million in debt he was trying to get back. That is what this should be stopping, situations like that.
Scott, where do you lie on current FFP rules, and not just the stuff around Everton, but you know, it going forward as well?
Yeah. I think to Liam's point about the clarity for fans is such a big, it's something that really needs to be at the forefront, because, like you said, you end up getting people who are angry about things that they don't know what they're angry about. Like, I think Man City is a big example. Like, we've all probably been guilty of it, talking about how many charges they've got and how disgraceful it is, and how why has Everton been charged and why has this happened? I think it's a lack of education on our part as the royal hour, because we don't really have any clue what's going on, and we just hear those buzzwords and those headlines, and it morphs into something that it probably isn't anymore. So I think that's one big part of it. I'm actually not opposed, though, to the luxury tax system, to be quite honest, because I think if you went to a system like that, you're going back to basically where we were somewhat in a fashion, back to where we were before FFP came in, which was what I think from the 2011 season, I think it was around that time. Not deviating too far from that, except okay, you've got clubs with rich owners who can essentially buy the way out of trouble, but then so can everybody else. And back then, it wasn't really a common, normal thing for super billionaires to come and buy football clubs. It was only, Abramovich almost kind of started some weird trend with it. And now, if you've made a bit of cash in your life, you want to own a football club for some reason. Maybe it's to wash other money. I don't know. I don't know what these people do, but so I'm not really mad at it because it evens the playing field somewhat. And if that money can go into, let's say hypothetically speaking, that money then gets divvied out amongst the rest of the league, then why not? I'm actually not opposed to that at all. But I'm glad that the changes are being made. But the luxury tax has got a lot of shit, but I'm actually not opposed to it.
What does the luxury tax?
Bad idea.
The luxury tax, does that come in as just like on top of, say, current FFP rules, where if you spend over a certain amount, you have to pay more of a percentage, or is it based on players, or what? I don't really understand how that would work. I know they have it in the NBA as well.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's basically you have your salary cap of, just to use, I don't know if this is the number, but let's say you have a round number of $200 million. If you want to offer a contract above that amount, it's like, okay, you can do that. If you've got other financial pots to draw from, then fine. But you've got to pay premium. I'm not sure what the premium is. I'm not sure I think it is a percentage of the amount you've spent, perhaps the amount that you're over your cap. So I don't really think there's, and again, as long as that money is used for something that benefits the game, I don't really see a problem with that. The only thing it does do is, but again, this isn't really the big issue with that in the American sports, is that you get some markets that are bigger than others, like the Knicks, for example. The New York Knicks, for a lot of years, other than this year, have been terrible, but they play in Manhattan. It's a franchise worth, multiple billions of dollars, despite not winning a championship since the 1970s. But just geographically, because of where they are and how many tourists they get in, they have a bit of a monopoly on certain markets. When you go to other markets, they're a lot smaller, less people to sell to, and it's a bit of a knock-on effect. I don't think you really have that issue so much in the Premier League, because we're already playing in such a small geographical area anyway. It would come down to, like, the likes of Brighton would benefit massively because they're such a well-run club, and they wouldn't really be having. Again, I don't think you'd have these issues of only the big clubs stay in the big clubs. It would then still somewhat be a highly level play, massive investment and new ownership.
Luke, where do you stand on it now? So we've all had a bit of a say of sort of the new rules, but where do you see this sort of ending up?
Well, I think if they start bringing new rules at the end of the season, I think there might be a massive impact if Everton go down because of this, and then in the season you change the rules again, and Everton obviously will kick off majorly because them going down will be, well, the stadium, and like again, as Liam mentioned, the owners. It's going to be a real shit show if they go down because of this, and the rules get changed, which Liam seems to be not too asked about because he hates Everton. But it's unfair. It's unfair. I'm kind of against what Scott was saying because I think the smaller clubs don't have a chance then to start hitting the European places. I think and we've covered it in previous episodes. I think the carousel of teams coming up and teams coming down will just be the same. I think it's a mess. As I said, my first point.
Liam, how does this all end up now? So Everton are going to appeal. Then we're going to see some new rules. What would you like to see come in for FFP? I know we spoke about sort of what UEFA are going to be, and think that should be implemented in the Premier League, and then just we need to settle on something.
I think they need to align. Yeah, they need to be very similar. I don't hate UEFA's version, to be honest. It looks like they're giving it quite a lot of thought, and I don't think you're ever going to get something everyone agrees on here, because everyone has their own agendas and their own what they want to get out of things, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's how the world works, isn't it? But the Premier League needs to be something very close to it. It needs to align in more or less all parts to it. There'll be some slight variances, but you want everyone to be singing off the same hymn sheet, really. So that would be where I line. And in terms of like Everton and previous offences, stuff shit, rules change. We're changing it because they couldn't stick to them, essentially, aren't we?
Yeah,
like,
it's fair enough.
I don't know. Part of me thinks we're changing it because some of the bigger teams are getting scared that they're seeing points come off, and they're seeing what's happening to Everton and think, shit, they've only broke it a little bit. We fucked up well big.
Maybe this is the Premier League. Maybe this is the Premier League's big plan. City might go for the title, and then in the season they go, "No, we're taking 3 points off you. You don't win the title."
Maybe. Well,
so are we just as a closing point? Are we now siding with the Everton conspiracy that this is all the cartel's doing, and the cartel, the Premier League cartel, are in control?
I'm not.
Sounds like that. That's kind of what you said there, Martin. You kind of said this. Big clubs are all conspiring. You did side with that. So I just want to confirm as a podcast where we stand on that.
It's very Newcastle that as well, isn't it? Newcastle, who think there's some kind of secret underworld cartel, which they're not part of, with the wealth of God. They're not included in. Yeah, I'm sick of that word.
Right,
cartel.
He's mad for cartel, Liam. He loves it. Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Luke, can you do us the honours of wrapping it up this week?
No.
That's so mean. Right, you won't be seeing Luke much more. Obviously, you've got the court case coming up with your, running in speech brackets. Yeah.
Before you go, I have a question. How is your
Liam? Don't say it. Don't say it because you don't care. You just bring up a weird point for some reason, and I had a feeling it was coming this week because you missed it for a few. Why don't you find out for yourself instead of asking me all the time?
How can I find out myself?
Get one.
I'm trying to tee you up. I'm trying to show advertisers that we can do that thing that podcasts do when they pretend they're having a conversation about HelloFresh or something. It's changed my life when I've got HelloFresh. It's dead easy and dead quick, and all the kids love it and that. Like, I was trying to do that, but you just...
No.
Gee, Martin, you're looking trim. What are you eating at the moment?
Hold on. Liam, start again. Do it again.
What? No.
What was that? Was that an ice bath that you was asking me about? It's going really well. Thanks for asking. If you would like one, I would like anyone else, just to feel the benefits that I'm feeling, you should go to lumitherapy.co.uk and use code MLM the DJ.
What benefits are there, Martin?
They make you skinnier, but whilst retaining muscle. My dick has never felt bigger, which is unbelievable considering the process that you have to go through. My hair is growing back in certain areas. I'm full of life. I'm smarter than I was a couple of months ago.
Are you taller as well?
I'm a little bit taller. Yeah, it's mad. I'm thinking of having to upgrade to the next one just to fit in.
I've got one more question though. Are you the fastest over 10 yards now?
I'm beyond faster than you lot. It's not even a conversation. We'll do that on another podcast. Luke, wrap it up.
Okay. How do I do that? I've not been in a while.
You are a fucking idiot, man. Everyone, if you would like to listen to the episodes that don't feature Luke, you can go find that at www.fixingfootballpodcast.com. If you'd like to look at our social media that also doesn't feature Luke. You can find all them links there. And if you want to catch up with anything that Luke's up to, good luck, because he ain't on anything or does anything. So we'll leave it there. Please like and subscribe and follow and do all that shit, because it's nice for us. It makes us look better to our mates. Yeah, appreciate it, boys. Everyone say bye.
It's alright.
Cheers, everyone. See you in a bit.
Goodbye.